On the morning of December 23rd, 2024, corrections officers at 5 Points Correctional Facility in Romulus, New York, discovered the body of inmate Adam Lafferty in his cell. He was laying face down on his bed and was unresponsive. It was later determined that he had been strangled to death with a homemade ligature made of shoelaces knotted tightly around his neck and a metal device. His cellmate, Kevin Farley, was present in the cell and stayed there overnight while Lafferty died. Lafferty had been serving a 2 to 7 year sentence after pleading guilty to a burglary charge in Wayne County in 2020. This was in stark comparison to Farley's sentence of 24 years to life for second-degree murder. This raises the question, why were these two individuals in the same facility and even in the same cell? This is episode 6, Death at 5 Points. This episode contains themes of violence and murder and may not be suitable for listeners of all ages. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Hot Justice Podcast, a space where we remember the victims, question the facts, and seek justice through storytelling.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Sierra.
And we're here to explore the stories that challenge what we think we know, bringing you real talk, honest reflection, and a deep respect for the victims and their families.
Because true crime isn't just about mystery. It's about understanding the human stories beneath the headlines. Let's get into it.
What's up, guys?
Hey, guys. It's your true crime besties back for another episode.
Welcome back.
Hope you guys have been enjoying January. If you live in New York, it's been a weird one for sure.
I can't believe it's over. January.
I know. Like what? I feel like that kind of flew by.
It did fly by.
That was a quick one.
Yeah.
I'll take that. And, you know, it was cold, but it wasn't as cold as it could be.
Yeah,
in New
it
York.
wasn't as cold as it was when we were little, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Remember?
Global warming.
Yeah,
It's
seriously.
A real problem.
It's a real thing. Today we are back with another episode, and we wanted to share with you guys some of our favorite local wines and different things about our favorite local wines. So this one is going to be, I know it is mine and I think it is yours. This is my absolute favorite winery.
Yeah,
if you
it's
live
mine too.
anywhere in New York or you visit anywhere in New York, like put this number one on your to must-have visit list. It's Boundary Breaks. And what we are drinking today is, it's one of their Rieslings. It is their Ovidline North. Kind of sweet, kind of along both of our palates though.
Yeah, it's very good. I don't have a very mature wine palate. I really like their 198, which is maybe a little bit sweeter, and their bubbly is really good.
Oh, I love almost all of their bubblies. They have a few.
Yeah, so we visited Boundary Breaks, but living here, there are a lot of wineries. It's
like 140 they're up to, I think, now in our area.
And around the lakes that we live. So around Seneca Lake, around Cayuga Lake. So it's something fun that people do here. I mean, really all year long, but especially in the summertime, there will be buses that take people from winery to winery. We did one for Heather's birthday 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. But we've been on a bunch, Christmas themed, and
we're like due.
Summertime. And
we're due for another one.
We are.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I can second that.
But Boundary Breaks is in Lodi for anyone who wants to visit, or and it's actually very close to where today's episode is happened and taking place. So I figured it was a great one for us to feature for our first featured wine.
Nice. I think we should call it Wine of the Week.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Wine of the Week.
Yeah, our Wine of the Week. Boundary Breaks.
Yeah, totally not sponsored. We just actually really love Boundary Breaks also.
Well, we really love wine. So if we
That's
can
also
incorporate
true.
it in our episode and share it with you guys, why not? Right?
That is true. And they have so much good wine there. I feel like we'll have to feature another one, but we'll try to pick some different wineries while we're at it.
Shucks. No, just kidding.
I love this one. And last time I gave you guys a book that I had read, so I figured I'm going to do that again. If you guys are into thrillers or mysteries, Lisa Jewell wrote None of This Is True. And the reason I picked it is because it's about a female podcaster and her podcast. I would recommend it. However, I will say I was kind of left lacking at the end. It was slow to get into. Once you got into it, it went really, really fast, and I was engulfed in it. I actually stayed up till 1 a.m. one morning.
Wow, that's like
on
5
a
hours
school
past
night.
your bedtime.
Because I had to know what happened, but then I was a little let down.
Oh, that's too bad.
So
That's disappointing if the book picks up and you're all excited about
yeah,
it and the ending lets you down.
I mean, again, still worth the read, but she's read. I've read a couple other of hers that I think I would prefer, but still a good read if you're into it.
Recommendation. And also, we have some exciting news. We just booked our tickets. We're going to CrimeCon, which is in
Yay!
Vegas over Memorial Day weekend. So we both booked this week, and we're looking at hotels. It's at Caesar's Palace, right?
Yeah.
The CrimeCon itself. So we're excited. Heather has been to Vegas a lot of times. What is your favorite thing to do? Or I guess, like, what's your favorite hotel that you stayed at, or that?
That's a good one. So I've stayed at a lot of different hotels on the Strip. My goal is to someday stay at all of them, but that's kind of a little crazy. My favorite for ease of use is MGM.
Okay.
It has everything. It's very central. It's just a nice, easy place to stay. However, I have stayed at a few of them. Caesar's is actually my least favorite, to be honest with you.
We're not staying at
We're
Caesar's.
not staying there, though.
No, we're staying somewhere else. But
Yeah.
I'm still excited to go and see what they have to offer as far as the convention.
I am probably most excited to take you to my favorite thing in Vegas, and I'm going to sound crazy, but my favorite thing in Vegas is a restaurant inside of Park MGM, which is also a great hotel for if you're looking for budget friendly. It's beautiful, it's newer, and it's fantastic if anyone's looking to go.
Okay.
But they have a steakhouse in there called Bavette's.
Oh, I love steak. I'm there for it. I'm excited
but I'm
about
not
it now.
even like there about the steak.
Oh.
They have a side. It's of Mexican street corn.
Oh.
And I know this sounds insane, but everyone I've ever brought to Vegas, I tell them about this. They give me this look like, okay, it's street corn. And then we go and they're like, why didn't you tell me? I would have just ordered street corn. I'm like, I did tell you. You didn't believe me.
You didn't listen.
You
but
did
I
not
tried
believe
to
me.
tell you. All right. Well, we're
So-
side of the Mexican street corn.
Yeah. If you're in the Vegas area, I know that sounds completely insane. I understand. But 10 out of 10 would
Highly
definitely
recommend.
do that. Neither one of us are gamblers, really. So I love when people tell me, like, I don't go because I don't gamble. Well, I don't gamble either. And
There are a lot
I've
of
been,
other things to do, right?
I don't know,
Shows
how many
to
times
see.
have I been? 11, 12? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to Vegas so many times, but there's just a lot to do there. And I'm excited for CrimeCon. I mean, some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to go to CrimeCon, so
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think we'll get to hear some really good speakers and maybe meet some people who can give us some suggestions so that we can put out better content for you guys.
And Nancy Grace is sometimes there.
Oh man, that's amazing. We'll have to try to meet her.
Yeah, right? We'll be
We'll
those.
stand in line.
We'll be those people, like
But-
celebrity shell shock to meet Nancy Grace.
I don't know that we'll be able to actually record anything as far as like a full episode while we're there, but we'll definitely try to get some content, record some content so that we can make some shorts or something to show you what we've been up to while we're in Vegas. But that's many months away. But
Yeah.
when you live in upstate New York, you look forward to vacationing in warmer weather. So
Yes.
so we're already looking
So we're
forward
already
to
like
it.
planning it all out. Like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
bag is packed. No, that's a lie. I will pack at the last minute. Let's be real. But
Well, we won't use those clothes until then. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
not like
true.
we couldn't pack
I
now.
could pack now because it won't be that nice. So
And I also wanted to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can also listen to it wherever you would normally get your podcasts. So we're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I mean, anywhere you would normally listen. If you're listening, this is also available in a video version on YouTube. And you can check out some of the shorts that we have on our YouTube page, Hot Justice Podcast. I think it's just, if you search Hot Justice Podcast,
Yep.
you'll find it on
comes
YouTube.
right up on
Yep.
YouTube. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to see them readily. Same thing with, we are on TikTok. We are trying to also share some of our shorts on TikTok.
Yep.
So that is also Hot Justice Podcast if you want to follow us. And also Instagram, we're trying to put them up on Reels too. So Hot Justice Podcast on Instagram as well.
And we got some really good feedback about episode 5. So we appreciate you guys responding and interacting with us and giving us that feedback.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And if you have any good book recommendations, please send them my way too, because I'm always about reading.
or any good wine recommendations, you can
Yeah.
also send those our way. Maybe
Yes.
we'll feature on one of our episodes, Wine
Yeah.
of the Week.
That would be fun. There's
Yeah.
also a ton of breweries too. Neither one of us are big beer drinkers, but there are a lot of awesome breweries around here too. And maybe we can feature like a sour beer or something that I actually enjoy.
Maybe once every like 8th episode.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, that's a fair deal. We can do that. All right, guys. So let's get into it. This is going to be a very interesting case. I mean, I think they all are, but this involves multiple different crimes. The main one being the murder that happened at 5 Points Correctional Facility. So just some information about 5 Points if you are not familiar. 5 Points is a maximum security facility for males that opened in 2000 in Romulus, New York. It has the capacity for 1,500 inmates. And in 2008, 71% of the inmates that were housed in 5 Points were being housed for violent crimes, and 16% of the inmates were receiving mental health treatment. So unfortunately, 5 Points has among the worst staffing shortages in the state, with 44% of positions being vacant as of reporting in late 2025. If you live in New York, you know that last year we had a lot going on with corrections officers and staffing and our governor, and that unfortunately has only led to more staffing shortages. And our New York State prison system is really still feeling the repercussions of all of that.
There was a strike for a while. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was a month long or...
It was, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was a while. And what I think was also important to note is that they weren't asking for more money. This was not a strike where they were asking for money. They were asking for safer working conditions.
Right, which is so sad, isn't it?
Terrible. Honestly, some of these, I know a lot of correction officers and families and whatnot, and they were being asked to work like 36 hours straight. That's not safe for them.
No.
That's not safe for the inmates.
If you're working for that many hours consecutively, you're probably exhausted. And that job in general has to be just so mentally draining. How are you doing your job well if you're exhausted when you're doing it?
I don't think you can. I mean, I think about how tired I am after just being awake for 24 hours, much less working for that long.
Right.
My patience is probably less. I'm going to be angry more easier because I'm just miserable because I'm exhausted. And it was also really unfair. There was a lot of mandatory overtime, and families were suffering because you couldn't even plan something because your loved one might not be allowed to come home. It was
right.
mandatory
like your child's
overtime.
birthday party. You
Literally.
can't plan.
You can plan it and hope that your significant other comes home.
So I guess my question would be, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this later, but if they had if right now they have 44% of positions that are vacant, right? And they're having such difficulty filling them, and especially in that area, right? Because it is very remote. So I guess my question would be then, do they move some of the prisoners to another facility that's maybe better equipped to deal with them, that has better staffing, maybe in a different area?
So there was a list of prison closures that they were expecting to close a lot of prisons because they didn't have enough staff. So sometimes the problem that comes with that, and we'll get into this a little bit in this episode, is that you may have non-violent offenders being housed with violent offenders because you don't have staff to create just, okay, you can go to a medium security prison.
Right.
Because we don't have enough people there.
So 5 points is a super max, right?
It's just a max.
Just a max. Okay.
But maximum security is no joke.
Yeah.
Absolutely no joke. So, a Department of Corrections fact sheet actually showed that there were over 1,100 total assaults, and that includes inmate on inmate, inmate on corrections officers, and that was just in the third quarter alone of 2025.
1,100?
1,100.
Wait, is this just at 5 points?
Yes.
What? That is insane. That sounds so high, right?
Yes. It's outrageous. Think about that level of violence. Actually, so I looked at some rates of incidents in the past 18 months, and these are just some of the notable ones. So let's be clear, there's plenty more than this going on, but some of the notable things going on, and I'm going to read this off of my sheet, so forgive me if I look away for a moment. There were 2 in September 2024, which included a confrontation with a weaponized padlock. So this is inmate on staff. 6 in October 2024, 4 in April 2025, and another 6 in September 2025. In late 2024, they experienced a surge of assaults on staff with 9 officers injured over a 2-week period, including one with a broken nose amid a series of inmates' attacks and fights.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine showing up to work and like you're not sure if your nose is going to get broken that day?
No, I absolutely cannot. That's terrible.
No wonder if they're having trouble staffing.
Would you want to go to work if that's what you were?
Absolutely not.
Like, I mean, honestly, like, how much would you have to be paid? And we'll talk about what their salary is, but how much would you have to be paid to take that risk every day?
Oh, geez. 250, 300,000
Right, to
probably
even consider
annually.
it. And let's just say we'll talk about it, but they're nowhere near that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
On October 4th of 2024, 3 inmates charged corrections officers during a pat-down search outside of the mess hall, and they injured 6 staff members and required hospitalization for 2 of those staff members.
I heard about that, I think.
The New York State Correctional Officer and Police Benevolent Association described the facility as a poster child for prison violence, citing an unprecedented number of assaults. And the pattern, unfortunately, continued into 2025, with multiple officers injured in attacks at the end of the year, and that contributed to a 1-year record for staff assaults at the facility.
Wow, that is crazy.
On October 1st, 2025, an inmate resisted returning to his cell, assaulting staff and hospitalizing 1 officer with a knee injury. And by August 2025, a string of incidents over several weeks included 2 severe inmate assaults on officers, numerous inmate-on-inmate fights, and injuries to multiple staff, and a National Guardsmen were deployed for support.
2 5 points specifically.
Correct.
Wow.
And then over the weekend of September 12th and 13th of 2025, a single inmate's violent outburst injured 6 additional staff members.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's way, way more than I expected.
and these are just the notable things. This is not like talking about everyday violence that might be occurring, and
Right.
it's certainly not talking about all of the inmate-on-inmate violence that occurs as well.
That's insane.
So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a prison that has a lot of violence right now. So the designated capacity for the prison is 1,445. There was a PRE facility audit report, which is actually a Prison Rape Elimination Act report, that said that in May of 2025, the population was 1,167 and the age range was 18 to 86 years old.
Oh my gosh. So what is that percentage wise?
Oh God, you want me to do quick
Well,
math?
I'm just thinking if you divide the 1,100 by the 1,400 or whatever, like that seems like it's pretty heavily, like it's at capacity.
It's pretty full, right? It says it's made for 1,500, but the actual number that they really suggest for safely is less than that. So, I mean, they are pretty full.
So they're at a high capacity and they have
Yes,
half of what they need for staffing.
correct. Yep. So there's a lot. It's kind of hard to find a lot of details on misconduct within the prison, whether that be inmates or staff. But the PRE audit report showed that there were currently 49 total sexual abuse allegations, 30 being staff on inmate allegations. And then the total sexual harassment allegations were 5, which were all in administrative investigations at the time of that report. So not just violence, there's also sexual violence as well that is occurring within prisons, which I don't think should be a surprise to anyone, but maybe people don't know that that is.
That also sounds high to me. 50?
Yeah.
You said were
49 when 30 of them were staff on inmate. Again, these are allegations. These are not all like founded cases, but let's talk about a couple founded cases from 5 Points that were in the news. There was an inmate, Devron Raymond, who was allegedly waterboarded and beaten by officers while in the infirmary, and he received a $1.2 million settlement from the state. There has been plenty of cases that involve allegations of officers punching, kicking, stomping on prisoners, as well as striking genitals with batons, and often when inmates were already restrained. And there was one notable case that involved officers where they attempted to frame an inmate by urinating on their own uniforms and saying that it was caused by the inmate, and officers were initially fired, but then one was actually later reinstated. So just like with every profession, right? I want to be crystal clear that not every corrections officer is corrupt.
right.
There are plenty of great people. I know plenty of great people working in our prison system who do their job. They want to protect inmates. They want to protect themselves, and they want to go home to their families. But it needs to be stated that, of course, like any other job or profession, there is corruption.
Yeah.
So, you know, you need to keep that in mind, that prisoners while they are incarcerated and are wards of the state, they still don't deserve to be beaten and, in this case, murdered.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Adam. So Adam is the individual who was found murdered in his prison cell by his cellmate. So why was Adam incarcerated? So Adam was incarcerated for burglary in the third degree, which is a Class D felony. It is punishable by 1 to 7 years in prison, 7 being the max, 1 being the minimum, and is eligible for parole. So what is a third degree burglary? It is a Class D felony and non-violent, just so we are clear. An act is considered burglary in the third when someone unlawfully remains on another person's property or premises with the intent of committing another crime. So it's important to note that it is not violent, because if it were burglary in the second or the first degree, that would be a violent offense. So his offense is considered non-violent. So I couldn't find a lot on his conviction, unfortunately, but he had opened a residence door and he struck a female victim multiple times on her head, face, and back. And that is what he pled guilty to.
Okay.
So I'm
While
very
trying to rob
conflicted
her?
about that, because to me that is violent.
Oh, that's definitely violent. So I wonder why he wasn't charged with first or second degree.
He did take a plea deal, so I don't know. Again, it was very difficult to find information on this because of everything that has happened since. It is like things are being buried and it's difficult to find, but that is what the allegations were, and I found that out of a parole board report. So
Okay.
I'm pretty positive that that is the actual allegation. He pled guilty, and it may have been that he was facing a higher charge and pled guilty to a lesser.
Yes.
I am not
possibly.
sure of that. So I want to be clear, like, I cannot find concrete evidence of that, but to me, that's what it sounds like. Normally, you don't take a plea deal to your actual charge. You take a plea deal to something lesser.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
So that is what he took a plea deal to.
Okay.
While I couldn't find a lot of details about his prior convictions, his family had been very clear that they are well aware he was no angel and that he had prior convictions.
Okay.
They acknowledged that he had led a very troubled life, that he had been involved with the criminal justice system since he was a child, according to Crystal Baird. And his brother Justin said he always managed to get himself back into some kind of trouble. But family members did want to note that he was serving time at a maximum security facility for what they claim is typically a minimum security charge, nonviolent third-degree burglary, and he was being housed with some violent felons there. Crystal also said, Crystal is his sister.
Okay.
And she said, believe me, we know he's no angel, but he didn't deserve to be there,
Murdered.
meaning in 5
Oh,
points,
there.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. If it's a max, yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. He also had a history of being somewhat of a squeaky wheel when he was incarcerated, according to his family. And his family basically just said that it was him standing up for his rights. He wasn't just trying to be a squeaky wheel. He was trying to stand up for, mistreatment and things. And within the last 4 years, he had filed several lawsuits and court motions that were in connection with the treatment he had been receiving since being arrested for the burglary charges.
Okay.
He did represent himself in all of those matters. So we could talk about that a little bit more. I was able to find that some of his prior convictions, according to the parole board's report, were that he had 5 prior convictions in New York State, and that included a state incarceration for burglary and intimidating a witness, and a long criminal history in the state of Florida as well. So not just New York, Florida as well. The board also noted that he had an extensive disciplinary history while he was incarcerated, including 6 misbehavior reports in the previous 17 months, including Tier 3 reports for lewd and violent conduct.
Oh.
So kind of a lot going on here with him.
Yeah.
Again, I want to be crystal clear that no one deserves to be murdered, especially while in custody of the state who is supposed to protect you.
them. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was failed, obviously, very, very much so. They failed him by not protecting him. So I do want to talk about the murderer, Kevin Farley, and what his crimes were, because although Lafferty had a very troubled history, his history is nothing like Kevin Farley's. In August of 2015, Kevin Farley attempted to rape Tiffany Meeks and then killed her in her Lake Street home. He strangled her with a computer cord, and he then proceeded to steal a woman's vehicle in Syracuse while holding her at knife point. Meeks was the mother of 2 children, and Farley and Meeks had actually been childhood friends who grew up next to each other.
That's sad.
It's terribly sad. The prosecutors had said that Farley was on a drug binge when this happened, and he did plead guilty in Onondaga County to charges connected with the carjacking and a police chase as well.
Mm-hmm.
He had previously been to prison on 3 occasions, and each time he violated parole.
Oh, okay.
So,
Mostly, was it drug offenses, and then he would just kind of...
yes, he was a crack cocaine addict, and he did offer at her sentencing like a very tearful apology to the family. I've, watched it. Sometimes I don't know how much I believe those. Are you trying to save your own skin? Were you really remorseful?
I mean, I guess if he was high on crack cocaine, not that it's any excuse at all for that kind of behavior, but, did he really know what he was doing? Possibly, but if you grew up with her, he maybe knew the family, right? So
Yes.
It's not even just speaking about being remorseful, but remorseful to them because they knew him. They probably knew him.
Yes. And his statement to the court actually just shatters me for Tiffany, not for him. It shatters me for her because he says, Tiffany tried to save me from getting high that night. All she wanted me to do was stay there so I wouldn't go out and do it another time. Everything I've done, she still wanted to save me. She was the best person I've ever known.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
And you murdered her.
Yeah, well, I mean, drugs make people do crazy things.
I'm thankful that I don't really know personally firsthand about that.
But I think a lot of criminals, that's why they do what they do. That's why they rob and steal and harm, because they're...
But could you imagine killing your childhood best friend under any circumstance?
No.
So he was given the agreed upon sentence of 24 years to life in prison. So that is the sentence he was serving when the crime against Adam happened. He would not be eligible for parole until he was in his late 50s. But the judge, and this is really important to remember, the judge actually said that he would make sure that the parole board knew that Farley has proven time and time again that he would not make a good parolee. And I feel like that's very fair. You've violated parole 3 separate times.
Well, and then,
what makes this different?
Right, your crimes increase until you eventually murder somebody, so he doesn't deserve to be released.
Yep.
Right.
Madison County Judge Dennis McDermott actually said the longest he has ever gone being released on parole is 10 months without violating his parole.
So even though he was eligible for parole in his late 50s, maybe he felt like he probably would never get out.
Right.
The judge and whoever else would speak against him.
Yep. He knew that the chances of him getting parole, I mean, again, you never know, but were probably pretty slim to none, right? So Farley did apologize yet again and said, I could never ask for your forgiveness. I would never expect it from any of you. And Tiffany's family spoke about how he shouldn't have even been out at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So then he wouldn't have even been able to commit murder.
I mean, that's the age-old argument, right? It's
correct.
Yeah.
It's the question between what is fair and have you actually been rehabilitated versus does our criminal justice system fail people?
Right.
And unfortunately,
it failed people.
If he hadn't been out, she clearly wouldn't have died that night.
Right.
So, unfortunately, that's just the sad reality there. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about some of the things that Adam had stated had been occurring at 5 Points while he was incarcerated there. So there was a lawsuit, Lafferty v. Virts, and Barry Virts was the Wayne County Sheriff. So this was filed alleging things that happened at the Wayne County Jail.
Okay.
And so that would have been before he was convicted or pled guilty, I should say.
Okay.
And it continued with things that happened at 5 Points as well.
Okay.
So I don't want to go over all of it because we would be here for quite a while. There is a 38-page court document on this, and I did go through it all, and I tried to break it down in terms that were easier for people to understand. It's a lot of legalese when you're reading these cases back and forth. We can certainly post a link to it if you want to read the whole case. But some of the things that he claimed against Wayne County Jail were that he had inadequate counsel, that they prevented him from receiving writing materials so that he could file appropriate briefs, that, the Wayne County Jail had out-of-date books, and that there was only one computer to access Westlaw. For anyone who doesn't know, Westlaw is a plethora of resources when you are an attorney, or in this case, trying to file your own petitions
Appeals.
with the court.
Yeah.
So
Petitions. Yeah.
unfortunately, none of those were founded per se. He did claim that his public defender basically forced him to plead guilty. So that is one of the claims he made, that he would have never pled guilty and he had ineffective counsel.
Well, don't they say, do you understand the plea deal that you're taking, and are you
Yes.
happy and satisfied with the counsel that was appointed? And then you have to say yes before the right? So it's not like...
Yes. And one of the big things, too, about the portion of this argument against the Wayne County Jail is they were barred due to the statute of limitations anyways. So his last day at Wayne County Jail was March 12th, 2020.
Okay.
So the statute of limitations is 3 years. So that means that even if he had a valid claim, the claim would have started on March 12th, 2020 and would have expired on March 12th, 2023.
Okay.
So if you don't hit your complaint within those 3 years statute of limitation, unfortunately, you don't have a valid complaint even if you do.
He just didn't file the claim in time.
He did not file the claim in time. There was other things that were kind of stated along the way that maybe he didn't have enough detail. He didn't have enough evidence. Some of that occurs with things that I'm going to tell you about that were ongoing at 5 Points.
Okay.
When you make a claim against someone, you have to be very clear. Dates, times, individuals. You have to meet a burden of proof per se, kind of. And it seems like, unfortunately, he didn't. But what that also means is we'll talk about it here, that he was permitted to amend his claim on some of these things.
Okay.
So it was basically like, so not for Wayne County. Anything for the Wayne County Jail was kind of done.
Okay.
But anything for 5 Points, there's a few things we'll talk about where the judge did end up saying, I can't rule on this right now, basically, but if you can provide more detail, you are allowed to amend your claim.
Right, based on the information you've provided, but okay.
Yes. So let's just focus on what happened at 5 Points. Just know that there is other things that supposedly happened beforehand in his claim, and they just weren't kind of walked through.
Okay.
So this is going to get a little bit heavy because he has a lot of complaints about 5 Points. So I'm going to try to blow through them as quickly as I can, but stay with me, guys. So his first one was that he believed that the 5 Points prison officials had been obstructing his outgoing mail. So he says that he had been delayed and prevented from accessing the mail and other courts for serious violations of his rights. He claimed he was being harassed, threatened, and retaliated against by prison officials. So that's kind of just a broad claim here.
Yeah.
But here are the things and dates that he claims he was perpetrated against. So on July 23rd, 2023, 5 Points officials allowed another inmate to assault Lafferty. Officials ignored his request for protective custody, and he was again assaulted on August 19th, 2023. Guards told other incarcerated individuals about Lafferty's request for protective custody and that Lafferty was a quote-unquote snitch. Officials are also not allowing him to file and pursue administrative grievances and are trying to get him killed or hurt very badly. So again, these are his claims, but this wasn't one of his claims. Obviously, if this is a valid claim, telling other inmates in a max security prison
to harm them,
that you are a snitch.
Yeah, that is not good. So were these founded at any point?
These were not.
Okay.
So these are his allegations, and these are contained in that lawsuit where he could have made an amendment. And I will just tell you now that no amendment was ever filed. So he had 30 days from the judgment on 9/20/2024 to make
2024, and then
9/10/2024. So that would have given him until mid-October of 2024
and
to
he
file
was
his
killed
amendment.
December 23rd.
Yes.
So he never.
He never filed anything officially to amend this.
Okay. Huh. But the dates seem very specific.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So in addition to the July 3rd and August 19th assaults, Lafferty was beat up on July 27th, September 6th, and September 7th of 2023. 5 Points officials did not treat the injuries he received during the assaults, and they refused to take photos of the injuries and destroyed his legal work process.
What does that mean?
So that was his statement. So I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if he meant they destroyed paperwork, because there are some accusations of that later on. But that was a direct quote. His legal work progress is what he claimed.
Does that mean that he was trying to write the amendment and that they...
So this was in July and September. So that would have been before, he was told to make an amendment. This is in 2023.
Oh, okay.
So he says that officials prevented him from accessing the grievance process. Then again, on September 7th, 2023, he says that another inmate raped him. And after the incident, officials did not let him seek medical treatment, and that the prison officials told other inmates to harm him.
That's very sad. And none of this was actually founded because it was part of the original?
Correct. I don't think he ever... One of the problems with this from a legal standpoint, when I look at just this claim, is he never, at least in his initial paperwork, he never said who the person was.
Okay.
So you can't just unfortunately make a bold statement like that without identifying the person. So he would need to identify who raped him and which prison officials actually told other inmates this. And in some of them, he does name prison officials. I have not put their names in here just because none of this was founded, so
right.
I do not want to name people. But that was would have been one of the issues with that, is that it did not look like he named the other inmate. And again, probably for fear of being labeled a snitch again. But that would have been one of the deficiencies there.
Okay.
Then on October 27th, 2023, he states that officials allowed his cellmate to steal all of his commissary, stamps, hygiene, tobacco, and other miscellaneous property. He says that the officers have permitted this conduct on multiple occasions to harass and retaliate against him for filing grievances and lawsuits and attempting to access courts. Again, on November 25th, 2023, Lafferty, and this was in quotes, so I do not know what this means, but had a seizure. Several officers escorted Lafferty to an infirmary cell where 3 to 4 officers beat him, punching him in his body on his left side and his left leg. Although he was held in the infirmary from Saturday, 11/25 until Monday, 11/27/2023, he says he did not receive medical care for the injuries that he sustained in the assault.
Then why was he in the infirmary? Like, why would they even bring him there if they're just going to assault him?
I think the allegation was he was probably treated for the seizure, but not treated for the assaults. Again, this is speculation because I'm only going off of what I found in the legal document. Then again, on December 17th, 2023, during a lunch meal run, he says that he politely asked a corrections officer for the time. At first, the officer responded to him in a rude manner. When he asked again for the time, and now I'm going to read this right out of the document, so if there are little ears around,
cover them up.
Please cover them, because this has a lot of profanity and this is a direct quote, so I am going to say it. The officer responded by saying, quote, "Lafferty, why the fuck are you even speaking to me when I have never, as long as you have known me, ever said 2 words to you? Next time, I'm not even going to say shit. I will just spray your fucking ass. So shut the fuck up and do not fucking ever say shit to me again. You are just a fucking scumbag inmate piece of shit, and I swear to God, if you ever say anything to me again, I'll fucking spray your ass." End of quote there.
Spray with mace or something?
I don't know. That was my question. Like, what is the spraying in reference to? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's slang. I don't know.
Doesn't sound like a good thing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a fun time. It doesn't sound like I'm going to take you outside and we're going to run through a sprinkler. Like, it doesn't sound like anything fun like that. So, not good. And again, this would be Very much he said, she said allegation, unfortunately, too.
Or is it a he said?
Well, yes, he said, he said.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'm assuming that the corrections officer was male, but it could be a female.
There wasn't a name listed in this one.
No.
Okay.
He contends that this officer and others were harassing him and retaliating against him again for filing grievances and writing to the court. Then on December 21st, 2023, when he was returning from breakfast, a male and a female CO ordered him to submit to a pat-down frisk. He had approximately 10 packets of sugar in his pocket, and even though the COs routinely allowed inmates to take bread and sugar back to their cells, the officers subjected him to a strip search. And during the search, the COs harassed and berated Lafferty and confiscated the sugar packets, his ID, and his library copy card. So I don't know why they would confiscate a library card. That doesn't make much sense to me. But
I don't know, but it seems like he was, filing appeals and complaints and stuff like that, and that he was spending a lot of time. I assume he would be spending a lot of time like reading and in the library, so maybe they knew that it would impact him. Yeah.
So he claimed that there were serious conflicts, threats, abuse by his cellmate. He asked to speak to a lieutenant. He contends that the threats and abuse by a cellmate escalated due to staff calling him, and again, little ears, please don't listen, that staff called him, quote, faggot, snitch, pussy, and that because the CO placed his cellmate on restrictions, they told the cellmate that they were placing him on restrictions because Lafferty likes to file grievances, so the cellmate has to pay because he's in the same cell with Lafferty.
Oh. Well, that would make anybody irate, I think, right?
Right? If we're in a cell together and you keep, quote unquote, misbehaving, whether it's real or not, perceived, and then they tell me that now I have to pay for your actions.
Right.
I'm kind of probably going to be like, what the hell? Like, could you act right?
Yeah.
But if I'm also in there for life and I have nothing to lose, and at this time I don't know that Lafferty was a cellmate, so I want to be clear, I don't know that a cellmate was really in for life at this point.
You don't know that it was Farley, you're saying?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was Farley that was his cellmate at that time. But if I'm there for a violent offense and you keep doing stupid things to get me in trouble, I'm of course going to be upset with you.
Yeah.
Not fair, and the CO should have never placed that expectation, but...
Well... And I guess my question is, are other inmates treated similarly, but he's the one that filed a grievance, which is why it put a target on his back? People just like roll with that kind of behavior and take it and like live their life that way. You know what I mean? Is it unusual to file a grievance?
I do think that he is, and I'm not saying he's wrong, but I do understand where people thought he was a bit of a squeaky wheel. It seems like he's filing a lot of grievances. He had filed previous grievances when he was incarcerated for other things from what I found. So it seems like he kind of filed a lot of grievances. And unfortunately, I think if you're a CO and you're dealing with stuff like this day in and day out, and someone tells you that this person is a problem and he's always causing issues.
But also think about the statistics and think about all of the violence and, so if that's just a small percentage of probably what happens on the daily.
Agreed.
Right? I would probably file a grievance too.
Yep.
If those were your living conditions and you were afraid for your life and people were stealing your things and assaulting you and whatever else was happening to him.
And so then to summarize some of these others, because I don't want to give all of these, but there's just a lot of like destroyed paperwork, threw his papers around, put toothpaste on his papers. There's a lot of allegations of that. And then on December 21st, 2023, he packed his property while his cellmate was using the phone. When the cellmate returned, he exited with his property and advised staff that he could not stay or live in the cell because his property would be stolen. Officers forced him to return with his property. He then wrote a letter to a sergeant requesting protective custody and to let him pack his own property because he thought his cellmate would steal it. Officers again forced him back into his jail cell. And the CO told Lafferty to just leave his property behind if he wanted to leave. And Lafferty was hit twice in the face by his cellmate and hit his head on the cabinet. And the officers broke his bucket and property and threw it back in the cell, forcing him to go back into a dangerous situation.
And this was Farley?
I don't know. This was still December of 2023.
Okay,
So
so a
I'm
year
not sure.
before.
I did not see when he actually became bunked with Farley. I don't know whether
Cellmates.
this was him the
Yeah.
whole time or
Somebody
whether.
else that was
So
assaulting him and stealing his things.
the list of what he was alleging is excessive force, failure to protect, denial of access to courts, denial of access to courts in specific at 5 Points. So there's 2 of them. Retaliation claims under the First Amendment, due process violations from false misbehavior reports, inadequate medical care violations, access to the grievance process limitations, deprivation of property claims, official capacity claims, and the 11th Amendment violation. Request for new appointment of counsel, request for injunctive release, and all of these were unfortunately unfounded, where he could, again, give more information within the 30 days and it would be looked at again. So this was actually signed by Judge John L. Sinatra Jr., again, as we talked about, on September 10th, 2024. So he had 30 days to respond.
Okay.
Now, he did not officially respond. There is no proof that there was any official response. There was talk by his family that he sent an informal letter to the judge. It was a handwritten letter, and it states that he was very afraid for his life.
Yep.
Down to the point where he supposedly told the judge exactly the date that something was going to happen to him. And unfortunately, that is the date that something happened to him at 5 Points.
How would he know that date?
I don't know.
Well, I just think the fact that he was so concerned, right? Even if the claims were not founded, but the fact that he was so concerned and then was eventually murdered, I do believe a lot of what he was claiming happened to him. I do believe that stuff happened to him, because if you're afraid for your life, you're saying, I'm not only going to be murdered, but I'm going to be murdered on this date, right? Other things had to be happening to lead up to that incident. You don't just live with somebody and then one day they, out of the blue, just murder you.
Right. Or it's very rare that that could happen. Someone could snap, but when you're saying all along all of this stuff and then it comes true.
Yeah.
Which also leads to the unfortunate discussion of, does this happen frequently to prisoners? Is this a one-off, or do we think this is actually happening inside of prisons?
I think that the assaults, right, based on the statistics that you were talking about earlier, I think that the assaults are very prevalent, probably, especially with understaffing. So 5 Points is one of the 5, right, one of the top 5 in the state as far as lack of staffing, which is awful. But yeah, I would expect, if they don't have adequate staff to be able to monitor the situations, and that's aside from the corruption portion or the corruption discussion, right? I mean, if you don't have enough eyes on people, they could definitely be doing these kind of things. They could be assaulting each other. I mean, sexually assaulting each other, stealing from each other. So I'm sure that's prevalent. It probably happens every single day. I mean, you're literally locked up with these people.
Yes.
You're locked in a cell with this person.
You cannot get away.
Right. And if you don't like them, if you're a violent person, I mean, if it's a maximum security prison and people are in there for murder and probably rape and all sorts of other very violent offenses, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to harm their cellmate or somebody they don't like for whatever reason.
Yep. So this is just all really unfortunate that he tried to alert people via written statements, verbal statements. He did take this to a judge, obviously.
Yeah. He was concerned.
He was very concerned.
And he was speaking out about it.
Yes.
Which probably did put a target on his back.
I think it did, right? Corrections officers maybe think you're the squeaky wheel and just think that you don't have any valid concerns, when obviously he did. Whether they knew it was valid or whether they just thought it was invalid, obviously, it turned out to be very, very valid.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what just happened very recently and kind of has brought this back into the forefront of everyone's mind. The murder was just over a year ago, but on Wednesday, January 14th of 2026, so as we're filming this right now, it was
This week.
just this week.
Yeah.
Kevin Farley pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon for killing Adam Lafferty at 5 Points. He showed zero emotion when he entered that plea. So when he entered the plea for Tiffany Meeks, he was crying. He appeared to be very remorseful. He was talking about how sorry he was. There was none of this about killing Adam.
And do you think it's because maybe now he's a hardened, I don't want to call him like a hardened criminal, right? But he's 10 years into a 25-year sentence?
I think that unfortunately when you house maximum security inmates with other maximum security inmates, they have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So they just don't care anymore, right? He probably thinks he's never getting out. I mean, I don't know his thought process, right? Thank goodness I'm not in his head, but obviously killing someone, he's already done it once and clearly he did it again. And this time he was assumingly not high, not on crack cocaine.
And he did it in the same manner, right? If he killed her with a computer cord and then he killed
strangled this one.
Yeah.
So he made a homemade garrote. That's what that's called.
Yeah.
When someone does that. And so that's what he did in this case. And the fact that he probably murdered Adam the night before and just left him in his bunk
All night long.
all night long. Like zero remorse. Just Seneca County District Attorney John Nabinger stated, "I join with Lafferty's family imploring the New York State Parole Board to never release Farley back into the community." So remember when we talked about the judge previously stating about parole? So Seneca County Court Judge Barry Porsche sentenced Farley to 25 years to life on the murder charge that is to be served consecutively with his existing sentence. He was also given another 3.5 to 7 years on a weapons charge because the garrote is a weapon. John Nabinger had actually requested a sentence of life without parole. So he was actually wanting to really ensure that there was never any chance that he could get out again. Farley had zero reaction to listening to Adam's mom and brother speak, which is, I think, even worse, right? Maybe you don't have remorse for your crime, but to hear family members speak about what you just took from them and to have...
this was somebody's son, right? It was
Yes.
somebody's brother. And I know he was in prison and he had a history and had committed crimes, right? He wasn't a completely innocent person, but at the same time, people make mistakes. And he made a mistake. He was in for a maximum of 7 years.
And had already served a good chunk of that time.
Right. And so you're probably thinking as his family, okay, he's going to get out. I mean, maybe he could turn his life around and he still has time to lead a meaningful and productive life, right? And you knew that he was scared for his life.
Yep.
So it just makes it so much worse that he was pleading, right? He was reaching out. He was telling his family he was concerned. He was telling the judge or whoever it was that he wrote to that not only is he going to be murdered, but on this date. And it just seems like the system failed him. It's like nobody helped him.
And it's just terrible to me that when you're incarcerated, you expect a certain degree of protection, right? Like you don't anticipate that you are going to be murdered in your cell.
That's what the COs are there for.
Correct.
I mean, that is literally your job.
Right.
Right?
Otherwise, why would you would just allow all the prisoners to roam around the prison and do what they want?
Yeah.
Yep. And absolutely no one deserves to die. No one deserves to be murdered.
Well, nobody deserves to be assaulted. Nobody deserves to be sexually
Correct.
assaulted, right? Even if you're in prison. I mean, they don't,
Correct.
people don't deserve that.
You still have basic human rights. And I feel like that's what's lacking in our prison system. So I really want to read their statements. They're brief, but to me, they were like just very, very powerful. So his mom, Patty Baird, says, "Losing a child is not something a parent ever recovers from. It changes who you are at your core. What weighs on me every single day is the question of why. Why did my son have to die? Why did a life that should have never been lost end in fear and violence? Why was I left to bury my child instead of watching him grow older?"
I mean, very valid.
Every parent's worst nightmare come true.
Yes.
Right? You think your child is incarcerated. You're hoping that he is taking advantage of the programs in prison and he is going to improve on his life and get out and you're going to have a new life with him. And honestly, he was more than halfway through his sentence. He was eligible for parole. there was just a chance that the end was near of his prison time and she was going to get her son back. And now she is never going to have her child back.
And this is a local family too, I wanted to mention,
Yes.
right? They live in Clyde. Like
Yes.
he lived in Clyde.
Yes.
So, I mean, it hits home a little bit. It's a local, I mean, these are local people.
Yes.
Right?
And his brother said, "We are left with more questions than answered, and the uncertainty adds to the pain we live with every day. I cannot imagine what Adam went through emotionally, mentally, and physically, knowing he could not escape from what was happening to him. Thinking about that is something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. They say monsters come in all shapes and sizes, and I understand that now."
Yeah.
And that, to me, is absolutely heartbreaking that his family is going through this.
Absolutely.
Farley was asked if he had anything to say, and he simply said, "No, sir. Nothing."
So
No comment.
definitely a lack of remorse.
Correct. Does not care.
I don't get it.
I mean, at that point, like, what do you call him but a monster? You have zero remorse even.
Yeah.
So Judge Barry Porsche stated, "There is no worse thing than losing a child in this whole world." So he noted that in 35 years, when Farley becomes eligible for parole, he said, and I quote, "I'll be dead, but I'm leaving a note now that I oppose parole each and every time he comes up for parole."
Good.
So that
Good
is
for Barry Porsche.
2 judges that have
Yeah.
now said he should never have parole.
Yeah. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, right? But it's good to have the support of the people that actually matter.
Yep.
And Barry Porsche sees plenty of criminals come through,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like he knows them all the different kinds. And if he's so adamant that even though he doesn't believe that he'll be around when he's eligible for parole, that he'll still note something and support the denial, I mean, that really says a lot.
Yep. And so Lafferty's family is filing a civil suit against the state of New York, as I believe they should.
Yes, 127%.
I believe this is a slam dunk because no matter what, your child should not be murdered while in state custody. They have it's not asking for much to make sure that your child comes out alive, right?
Yeah, but think about all the warning signs, right? There were so many red flags. There were reports that were written about 5 Points specifically. So I feel like it was just a matter of time before something like this happened there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, right?
Absolutely. And
is anything going to change so that it doesn't happen again?
I would hope so. But I don't know that anything is going to change because it's not like this is the first case ever. Oh, and I had promised we would talk about pay scales. Sorry, I forgot that. So let's talk about that really quick. And let's talk about in 2023, so the year before Adam was murdered in prison, there were 114 deaths in all of New York State's prisons.
Are these homicide deaths or?
Those are total.
So it could be suicide, could be
deaths.
An 86-year-old who dies of old age.
Right.
Okay.
But in 2019, now this is all state and federal prisons, so let me be clear, that's not just New York, but in 2019, 143 inmates were killed by homicide.
Say that again.
2019, 143 inmates of state and federal prisons were killed by homicide. So it's not as rare as we would like to believe it to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So the average salary for a New York State corrections officer is $313 per hour, and that was actually taken from job postings on Indeed within the past 36 months. So when you break that down, the starting salary for a corrections officer, this is in New York State, so other states might be different, but it is $66,365, and that is during their academy and their first year.
You said 313. You mean 30?
3313.
Okay.
Darn it.
3313. That's okay. I was just like, wow, $313 an hour.
Actually, like, I'll
good.
sign up for that.
Yeah.
Like, let me join that. Sorry, guys. And then after 1 year, they are at $69,762. And when you get up to 7 years, they are at $84,024.
7 years?
7 years.
Oh my gosh.
Now, there is always overtime and things that they can do to earn extra money, but that is a base salary. So that is how much you are being paid to go into these max security prisons and deal with inmates.
That is nowhere near enough.
Not even close.
I'll just say that.
Not even a little
Like,
bit.
no wonder why they're having issues with staffing, right?
Because I would not want to be making that little of money to risk my life, because that is what you're doing, in essence.
I know. I mean, it's unfortunate too. This discussion kind of went both ways because it's like crime against COs and then it's also like corruption. But I feel like there are plenty of COs that are there to really do a good job to the best of their ability. But
1,000%.
I don't know. It's just really frustrating. And I guess I think they're probably not around each other all day. But if you see somebody who's doing those kind of things, right, and acting violently against inmates, I would hope that they would step in. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, are you intimidated by these kind of people if this is what they're doing? And then will they have inmates attack you? It's just a whole, like, it's a very strange dynamic.
If you live in New York or are very familiar, there's the case of Robert Brooks. Obviously, we're not going to get in depth right now because I don't want to go too far into that. But I think that's a prime example of there were officers there who did not want to participate in that, but
they
didn't
did
want to stop it either. So they did nothing, whether it's fear of their other corrections officers retaliating against them or whatnot. And I think that unfortunately that's probably part of the problem, right? Maybe you don't agree with what your fellow corrections officers are doing, but how much are you going to do to step in and stop it?
Well, it seems like not enough. And maybe that's not the case all the time. I really don't have a lot of good examples or a lot of knowledge about what's happening inside of these prisons, but just from what I've heard and read and, you know, seen on the news, it just seems like there are multiple incidents, not even just in New York State, but I mean, the ones that we've heard about really are mostly in New York State, and there are a fair amount of those, which is scary. So just a lot of news lately about the strike and the whole act, right? And
it just seems like our system needs a big reform. I don't know how to make it happen. I don't know how to make it better. That obviously I'm not equipped to tell you guys that, but it just seems like we need to make some changes for the safety of the corrections officers and the safety of the inmates, because right now I don't think we're hitting the mark on either topic.
And if you are a CO, if you would like to reach out to us and have a conversation, we won't put it on the air. Like, we don't have to do that, right? We don't have to record it or anything, but like I'm genuinely interested.
And I'd like to, I mean, I made a quick post asking if there were anyone who worked at 5 Points willing to speak to this.
Yeah.
Or not even speak to this, but like anonymously talk to me about what you feel. What do you feel could be done better? I mean, obviously we know staffing.
Right.
Like, you need more staff.
Yeah.
Whether that is because we need to start paying more so that we attract more candidates. You know, we got to do something because
I think that's
it's
first
not
and
working.
Foremost. But secondly, I do think location is really hard, right? I'm curious about Auburn, I guess, because Auburn is another local prison. Auburn is a bigger city.
Moravia.
Moravia. But 5 Points being in Romulus, I mean, it's similar to the Kristen O'Connell case, right? It's such a remote area, and it's hard, I feel like, to draw people. If the salary isn't competitive, it's a very difficult location to staff, because people don't live there.
And so the thing is, you sometimes get stationed somewhere when you're first out of academy, even if it's not where you want to be. So, for instance, there used to be a lot of people actually from Buffalo that I knew that were stationed at 5 Points.
Okay.
It was not their, prison of choice, but that's where they were stationed until they could bid out and get a prison closer to home.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I don't know how many people are choosing to go to 5 Points. And does that play a factor as well? Are you upset that you're stuck at Romulus prison when you don't want to be there, but you're just biding your time? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a delicate balance, because you have to be an assertive and maybe sometimes an aggressive person, because your job is so, I don't want to call it like risky, but what's the good word for it?
I mean, you're overseeing people's incarceration and you need to be a voice of authority.
Yes, because otherwise they could harm you.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
So I can understand.
And we talk about the risks of being a cop, right? We know that there's risks of being a cop, but when you're a prison guard, or I'm sorry, a corrections officer, you know these people have committed crimes.
Oh, yeah.
You know that every individual, maybe there's a couple that are innocent, but almost every individual you're going to come in contact with every day has committed a crime.
Right. Yeah, and they have nothing to lose, a lot of them, when they're in there, right? And some of them, I mean, maybe they have mental health issues. You said, I think 60% or something of the inmates had mental health treatment. So, yeah. So I just think, like, I can understand having to deal with people in an authoritative way, and maybe not being outwardly like aggressive towards people, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, if you're not assertive, then you might be a target yourself.
Absolutely.
So
You don't want to be the weak one.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a very sad case all the way around. I feel for Adam's family.
Me too.
I cannot imagine what they are going through.
I feel for his mom. I can't either.
Losing your child like that should never happen, ever.
No.
So I don't know. We gotta figure it out. We have to do better.
Yep.
Well, guys, sorry. I feel like these are always such depressing episodes, right? Like something sad's happening and I have nothing good to end it on.
I know, but it's also like you're just trying to bring light to a situation that happened, and it happened locally, and people should care about it, right? Because it's happening every
Absolutely.
single day. It's not like a one and done thing. Like, this is a systemic problem.
Absolutely.
This is a problem.
A big
So,
one.
I hope that people care about it, right?
Yeah,
Like we
same.
do. I mean, I definitely have learned a lot during this episode, but yeah, I think you did a really great job with it, and definitely some really interesting and really scary statistics.
Yeah.
So
Everyone, like, do what you can to stay out of prison, because clearly
I mean, yeah, I would hope
it is not.
every episode that should be the
Yeah.
theme. Do what you can to
Do what
stay
you can to stay out of prison, because this
Yeah.
is not it.
Or really just like don't do anything to be in prison.
You know, do what you can to avoid anyone who might put you in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, steer clear of the naughties.
The
Surround
naughty-
yourself with nice friends.
Yes. Get better
But-
friends.
So I would say, yeah, if you are a CO or if you have any opinions about this matter about New York State prisons, if you have any experience, we would love to hear from you. It can totally be off the record, anonymous. Like, we don't have to make another episode about it, but genuinely, like, I really am interested. So if you'd like to reach out to us, you can email us at hotjusticepodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact us through our website, www.hotjusticepodcast.com, and there's a contact tab. You can click on it and it'll come right to us. So we're definitely interested in hearing from you. And in general, we've really appreciated the recommendations for cases, because we've received a lot. My next case that I'm working on was recommended. So we appreciate that kind of interaction too. And we're very happy that you guys are listening and enjoying our content and watching us now.
We don't know what's so interesting about us, but we're glad that you guys are
we
finding it.
interesting, right?
Yes.
We're
very
interesting.
interesting.
You should watch. You never know what we're going to say and what we're going to do. So
That's actually very true.
surprise, something might happen. I don't know.
Surprise,
Stay tuned.
shorty. All right, guys.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep seeking the truth. This episode was written, edited, and produced by us, and the music was created by Manny Aguero.